Right, so today guys I'd like to answer probably what's the most asked question on the internet. What's the best fat burning exercise? Right, so like I said, the internet is full of people claiming that they have the best fat burning exercise, whether it's to lose fat in a certain area or just drop weight in general. However, in this video I'd like to go over why that's a complete myth and what you should do instead. So the first thing to understand is that just because you are using fat doesn't mean that you are losing fat. So let me go into that in a little bit more detail. So your body has two main sources of energy. It has fat and it has the carbohydrate, the glucose, that is stored in your muscle cells. Now the glucose is a really quick and easy source of energy. It's in the muscle cells and your body will use it when you do high intensity exercise. Now fat is a bit harder to use. It takes a bit longer to break down into a usable form of energy. That's why when you are doing higher intensity exercise, your body prefers to use glucose because it's faster to break down. So fat is actually used when you're doing lower intensity exercise. So you actually use a higher percentage of fat, say when you're sitting, than when you're running. And that's just because you don't need the energy so fast when you're sitting. So your body has time to break it down and utilize it basically. And when you're running, especially at higher intensities and speeds, your body needs the energy faster and it can't get that from fat at the same rate. So that's why it prefers to use glucose. And note that I said higher percentage, not higher amount. So when you're sitting, it will use a higher percentage than when you're running. But obviously when you're sitting, you don't use that much energy. So the type of energy source you're using is fat, however you're not using so much. So when you're running you'll use more energy, and that's the best way to think about it, energy and calories rather than the fat and glucose, because you are requiring more energy for that process. So yeah, just because you're sat down and using a higher percentage of fat doesn't mean that you're using more calories for it. So rather than thinking about burning fat, think about how many calories you're burning overall in the exercise, and also the total calories you're burning in your whole day in terms of how many calories your body needs. And I'm just going to jump into my virtual whiteboard to quickly explain what I mean by that. Right, so I'm in my virtual whiteboard, hope you can see me. So I'd like to quickly explain why using fat doesn't mean that you are losing fat. So as I've done before, I'm going to use the fuel bar analogy. So your body needs a certain amount of calories per day to function, and that's called the maintenance level. And I like to just use the example of 2000 because it's quick and easy to calculate. Doesn't mean that you need 2000. So this is how weight loss and weight gain works. So let's say that you consume, I'll just change the color here, up to this 2000, the amount of calories your body needs per day, but then a few more. So let's say that ends up as 2,200, so 2,200, oops, 2,200, there we go. So this gap in here means that you've consumed more than your body needs by 200, and there's energy left over. So what your body has to do is store it, because there's nothing to do with it. You can't do anything with it. So what happens is, my excellent drawing, the body will store it as body fat and you will put on weight because there's a surplus of energy. That's called a calorie surplus. There's too many calories, so your body has to store it. Now, the opposite happens with weight loss. So let's just delete all this. So over the day, if the amount of energy consumed is not up to this maintenance line, so let's say it's up to there, then there's a gap here.
and there's not enough energy to meet the required needs of the body. So this is called a calorie deficit. So your body needs to get that energy from somewhere. So what happens is that, just draw my little person again. I really need to improve this drawing. So what happens is that your body needs this energy. So what it will do is it take it from body fat to fill up the line. So let's just fill that up. And you will lose fat and lose weight. So that's the basic principle behind weight gain and then weight loss. So you need to be in a calorie deficit to lose weight. There's no questioning that. And we can create this calorie deficit in 3 ways. So either consume less food, move and exercise more, or a combination of the both. So I will just explain how that works. So number 1, just consuming less, like I just explained. If this amount of energy you consume, amount of food that you consume over the day is less than you require, so let's say 1,800, what you've done is you've created a calorie deficit, so less energy than your body needs. So this little person, the energy is taken from the body fat to fill up that food line to the required amount per day, and you lose fat. Number 2 is maybe that you did eat to the 2,000 required amount per day. However, you did more movement, did more exercise that day. So let's say that your exercise you did 200 calories of exercise extra than usual. So let's say that, so type in 2,200, there we go. 2,200, there we go. So what happens is this 2,200 becomes the new required amount per day because you've done 200 extra. So you've still created a 200 calorie difference there. So it's not through consuming less, it's through exercising and moving more. So the same thing happens. There's a gap. So you've consumed, let's just find the color. You've consumed up to here, but there's a gap. You need more energy because you have outputted, you've exercised more. So it comes from the body fat and you will lose weight. The third way is a combination of the two. So let's say that, yes, again, the required amount of energy per day is 2,000. You eat to, let's just change the color here just so it's different. So you eat 2,000. So you eat to 1,900. 1,900. And you do a little bit more exercise as well. So let's say 100 calories just to make it a good example. So that would be 2,100. So that 2,100 basically becomes your new required amount of energy per day, your new maintenance level. So this one has sort of gone up to here, basically, that 2,000. So we'll get rid of that. And so you've created this same gap again. So that's meant to be the same gap as, same amount as before. So it's a 200 calorie difference. So what happens is energy comes from your body to fill that up, and you lose fat, you lose weight. So that's basically the 3 ways that you can create a calorie deficit. It's just all about that gap between the required energy that you need and the energy that you've taken in, the calories you've taken in. Right, so let me quickly explain now why using fat does not necessarily mean you are always losing fat. So let's say that you do a fat burning exercise today that burns an extra 200 calories, but also you're consuming 2,400 calories, so 400 calories more than your daily needs. So 2,400. So you're in a calorie surplus. So you're actually, let me just draw this in, consuming more than your need. So your need is this 2,000. So your body will be storing this as fat because you've got too many calories. However, because you have done the fat burning exercise, your need's gone up a bit. So you actually need 2,200. This is probably going to disappear. Yep, so draw that in again. 2,200. You need more, but because you're still consuming 2,400, so 200 more than you need, your body still will be storing energy because at the end of the day, you're still in a surplus. Now, let me explain that in a calorie deficit. So we're still going to do that same 200 calorie fat burning exercise, but let's say that you are consuming, let me just change this back. So let's say that, yeah, your needs are 2,000. Oops. Sorry. So your needs are 2,200 because you have done that fat burning exercise. So rather than the example of 2,000, your energy needs have gone up a bit. However, let's say that you consume over the day 1,800 calories. So 1,800 calories. Boom, boom, boom. So now what happens is that you have created a calorie deficit. So you need 2,200, however, you've not consumed 2,200. So what happens here is that energy is taken from the body to fill up that gap to 2,200 because you need it. Your body needs those calories. So it doesn't depend on the actual workout, it depends on how many calories you are consuming versus how many calories you are expending. So both sides of the equation are really important. If your overall energy intake at the end of the day is more than you require, it doesn't matter that you've burnt 200 calories through exercise. You're still in a calorie surplus, so you'll still put on weight. However, if your overall energy intake is less than you require, then doing that same 200 calories of fat burning exercise will make you lose weight. So it's dependent on your overall energy balance rather than the actual exercise and where the energy is coming from.
Right, so I hope that made sense in the fact that you can do a fat burning exercise but still not lose weight or even put on weight, because it depends on whether you're in a calorie deficit at the end of the day, whether you lose weight or not. So what really is the best fat burning exercise? So like I said at the beginning of this video, don't worry whether you are using fat or using the glucose in your muscles. If you're in a calorie deficit, you will be losing weight. Right, so there are a few things that you need to consider, and the first one is the most important one. You need to do something that you enjoy, because if you don't enjoy it, then you won't do it for very long. You won't be consistent with it. And that's the most important thing for weight loss results. You need to do it consistently. It needs to be part of your lifestyle. You need to keep that energy output high, like as high as possible. And like I said, something you enjoy, you will do it effortlessly. So that's the most important thing. So the second one is doing something that fits more around your lifestyle. So it can be hard to find and make time. However, you don't need to do a planned gym session or a planned exercise to increase that calorie deficit. It just needs to be something that increases the output of energy over your whole day. So it can be just something in terms of moving more, so like taking the stairs instead of the escalator or the lift, or just walking more, getting more movement into your day through just standing up on the telephone. Loads of things. Like, it's really easy to come up with ways just to move more. So it doesn't need to be, like I said, something in the gym where you have to separate time and go crazy. It can be lower intensity exercise just over more time, because in that hour in the gym, yes, you burn more calories in that hour than you would do in an hour doing daily stuff, but that daily stuff is done over a longer period of time. So say an hour in the gym versus 23 hours in the rest of your day, that 23 hours adds up. If you do a lot of walking in that 23 hours, that could add up to more calories burnt in the gym. So the third one is to try and incorporate some sort of resistance or weight training into your week, because that helps to maintain muscle mass. So that helps you keep burning fat instead of muscle, which is really important. You want to lose fat and not muscle. That helps you lose size, because it's the fat that gives you most of the bulk, not your muscle. Your muscle gives you that toned look, which you really, really want to maintain, especially when you drop body fat. So some sort of exercise in terms of resistance. It could be in the gym, it could be at home, it could be body weight, it could be with weights. So to give you a practical answer, do something that works for you. So yeah, if you don't have much time, do something that's higher intensity, that burns more calories over a shorter amount of time, like running or some high intensity sort of HIIT training. However, also, if you have more time, do just simple things like walking. Walking ends up burning a lot of calories, so it's a really, really good fat burning exercise. So walking is one of my favorite exercises to help weight loss, increase that calorie deficit. Basically because it's really, really easy to do, everyone can do it, and it's very, very low in stress as well. Because something I forgot to mention was, if you do a lot of high intensity exercise, it can create a lot of stress, and that can create compensatory effects in the body. So if you do, say, sort of half an hour or an hour of exercise in the gym, really, really high intensity and stress, it can cause you to rest more in the rest of the day, and that can cause you to use less energy in the rest of the day, so your overall energy requirement comes down. So doing that exercise in the gym can actually be negated by the whole of the rest of your day. So it's important not to do too much, because if you go crazy in the gym and do too much, stress yourself out too much, then your overall energy requirement can come down, and so you've wasted that time in the gym, because the calorie deficit you've created has been changed by the energy that you're not burning in the rest of the day, where you're resting more and just trying to sort of recover from it. Right, so I hope you enjoyed the video today, guys. Like, share and comment as always, and just be aware that you don't need to go crazy with exercise to lose weight. Walking can be just as good as something in the gym.